Welcome everybody to the Short Sports Show. I'm your host Daniel Short. Today is Monday, October 27th, 2014. And sorry about last week. Had to get some school stuff done, finishing up a term. Now I am back. And what a week of college football and the NFL it was. High scoring was at its prime this past week. And, you know, I counted my TCU Horned Frogs out, 2 weeks ago after losing the game to Baylor. But now, I don't know. It seems like we still have a shot, and with the playoff ranking coming out tomorrow night, that'll be very interesting. I don't expect to see TCU being that fourth team as of right now, but within the past 2 weeks of playing top 20 teams and possibly top 15 teams down the road, it will be a good little work for us right there. But anyways, we will talk about who is going to be in the top 4 of the college football rankings come Tuesday night. And also we'll have some Heisman talk, including no other than, I'm being a little homer here, but TCU quarterback Trevon Boykin. And then we will also recap Week 9 of college football and Week 8 of the NFL. And like I said, it was points at premium this week with college football. We have a few little quick stats and a quote that I will love to read. Then we will go straight into recapping Week 9 of the college football. First is USC left tackle Chad Wheeler will miss the rest of the season with a torn ligament in his right knee. Head coach Steve Sarkisian says Wheeler tore his ACL in his knee on the third play of USC's 24-21 loss to Utah Saturday night, but stayed in the game for several more plays. Wheeler is 6'7" redshirt sophomore who started all 22 games for USC over the past 2 seasons. So obviously a huge loss for them. But, as a redshirt sophomore coming back next year, be a junior, NFL-wise, this guy has a good shot at being 6'7". But yes, definitely a huge loss for USC, being a blindside guy. But he won over the starting. He's been a starter for the past 22 games, but went from, I believe, a guard to a tackle this season, winning the job over an upperclassman. So that guy will step in and move around. That's pretty good for them. And then there's just quick little stats that I was reading off ESPN.com that said by the numbers, and all it is. Well, actually, I'm about to read just 2 of the 4. It said 0 points, or 0. That was the point scored by Texas, and a 23-0 loss to K-State on Saturday. It's the first time the Longhorns have been shut out against Oklahoma since 2004. It was also the first time a team coached by Charlie Strong has been shut out. And I tweeted that out after they had lost, and I'm thinking to myself, Charlie Strong, everywhere he's been, I couldn't remember him ever being shut out. I mean, not that he's known for being a top offensive coach. It was just that his teams have always had at least one star player on that offense. And I'm thinking, this might actually be the game that his first ever game he's been shut out by. So after we talked about how Texas has their offense have been improving the last few weeks, and Tyrone Swoop stepping in, that he's developing a lot quicker now and getting in rhythm. Now it's just like, this is the same old Texas team from the first few weeks of the season. So Charlie Strong definitely has tons of work to do with Texas, but it also shows K-State, pretty top team right there. But really, they should have, if they're a number 11 team in the nation, I would assume that it should have been probably like a 43-0 win. Just only scoring 23 points on a Texas team that, yes, have a good defensive coach and an okay-ish defense. I would expect their offense to exploit that and dominate either way. But either way, 23-0 win for Kansas State. And then the second one is 613. That's how many rushing yards Georgia Southern had in its 69-21 victory Saturday at Georgia State. Not only is it a Sun Belt Conference single game record, which you would think almost anything's a record for them, the Eagles Georgia Southern averaged 9.7 yards on 63 carries and only attempted 6 passes. They do run that triple option, but the way they're able to run it, 613 rushing yards. That's not total offensive yards. That's just 613 rushing yards. That's incredible. Imagine what a game of Georgia Southern versus, a Georgia Tech team, which they will play, and also against, an Army, Navy, Air Force type thing. That would be something. I'm still a fan of the running game, even though it's all air raid passing nowadays. I still believe in the rushing game. And that's really it for that. And then the best quotes, it went on to the best quotes. And this was Texas Tech head coach Cliff Kingsbury on Trevon Boykin saying, quote, "I said that I thought he was a top 3 Heisman guy. And to watch him live and in person, he's got to be the front runner. He's that good. He's the best player in the country, in my opinion." I was a fan of Trevon Boykin since he redshirted. I believe he redshirted. The year after I'm lost for words right now. The year after the Rose Bowl, and he has been amazing. Well, once I knew we had a dual threat quarterback, I was so excited to finally have one, because obviously we had Andy Dalton, and before that, his name slips my mind, but he was kind of a scrambler, but he wasn't that good at it. And then we had, of course, Andy Dalton, who's just a pocket quarterback. And then Casey Paul, also a pocket quarterback. So I was so excited when we had a dual threat guy waiting in the wings. And then when Boykin did come in, his circumstances, weren't the best, because his redshirt freshman year, he's thrown in the starting quarterback. That entire week before the game he started, he was practicing as a running back, because we had some injuries at the running back position. He needed to go in there, probably play third downs and stuff like that. Next thing you know, Casey Paul was arrested that night. Boykin steps in the next day to be the starting quarterback against Iowa State. That was pretty good. Did come off with a loss. And then, of course, last year, back and forth between wide receiver and quarterback. Paul again goes down. Boykin steps in, does not the best. And now this year, full-time at quarterback. And I'm not going to lie, I believe that Matt Jokel, the Texas A&M transfer, was going to be the starting quarterback for TCU. I thought it was hands down. Boykin was just the same old. Now he's become one of the best, if not the best, college quarterback in the nation. Now, I know a lot of people are going to disagree, because they're going to say, Dak Prescott. Right now, honestly, I think it's Marcus Mariota. He's the best one. But after that, you really have to throw Trevon Boykin in the mix. He has better stats. Other than a completion percentage, he has better stats than almost actually all quarterbacks, except for passing yards, which belongs to Washington State. They're going to throw, 500 yards a game. Boykin's pretty close to that, about 400 yards a game. No other quarterback does that except for, Connor Holiday. But that's to be accepted, But anyways, I think that's awesome. And let's go ahead and move on to week 9 of college football, recapping what has happened. Obviously, started Friday with number 6 Oregon on the road against Cal, and this was a trap game for them. Cal is always bringing. They could suck all year, and when it comes to an Oregon game, a Stanford game, an Oregon State, their offense just explodes to becoming a really top offense, just out of nowhere, and they showed it. But the defense could not settle down. They could not contain Marcus Mariota as he dominates them. 59-41 is the victory for Oregon. And I could see them being in the top 4. They actually probably should be in there. We'll talk about it a little bit. I have some things about Auburn. I've seen some that have Auburn still being in there. I have no idea why. I can't see that happening. Then moving on, number 16, Nebraska hosted Rutgers and dominated them 42-24. Amir Abdullah broke multiple records in that game. I believe he had almost 300 yards, if not 300 yards of total offense for himself. All-purpose yards, that's incredible. We talked about K-State beating Texas 23-0. UCLA had a scare against Colorado. I was rooting for Colorado in this game. I have certain teams in different conferences that I really wish were good. I have Tennessee for the SEC. Colorado's my team for the Pac-12 that I wish were good. And even if Colorado was in the Big 12, I would wish Colorado would be good. Final score was 40-37. Colorado came back but was not able to stop the UCLA offense in overtime, and went double overtime to be exact. Final score 40-37. UCLA survives. And number 1 Mississippi State went on the road to Kentucky, and I believe Kentucky, even though they got blown out against LSU, which now we found out LSU is still not, pretty good after they beat Ole Miss. I think this was a sign. I really do. One, it was a wake up call for Mississippi State to not get ahead of themselves, knowing that you might have a number 1 above, right next to your name, but that doesn't mean you are the nation's best right now. This was a huge wake up call, even though I don't believe Kentucky took the lead at any point during the game. They kept it close, and they really put on a fight against Mississippi State. And I think, voters need to look at that, possibly even drop Mississippi State. I think they really should drop them, just a spot. I'm not saying out of top 4 or anything. Probably move Florida State back up in there, especially after Florida State defeated Notre Dame. Yes, it was controversial, but they did defeat a top 5 team. Mississippi State has not. There's your cue. Other than, I guess, Auburn at the time, but Auburn, I don't think it's that good either. So I think that was a huge wake-up call. I think for Kentucky, that's a lot of positives you take out. You fought a really good team, and, you're probably 1 player away, 2 players away from beating that top team. Marshall remains undefeated. They are number 23 in the nation. They defeated Florida Atlantic 35-16, and I like Marshall. Ever since we are Marshall, this is what really got me into the university. I always rooted for them and hoped they would win, and I'm glad they are winning right now. TCU knows what it's like to be in your steps right now. When we were undefeated and we were still number 23, number 24, it's a huge slap in the face, but keep doing it, and you might get promoted into another conference or something, because I doubt you want to stay in the MAC all your life. How about West Virginia defeating Oklahoma State 34-10? I actually don't think this game was a lot closer than the score shows. I know 34-10, that's a 24-point, victory for West Virginia. It probably could have been a whole lot bigger. Oklahoma State, if they had J.W. Walsh, Oklahoma State probably would have gave TCU a bigger fight, and also would have gave West Virginia definitely a bigger fight. West Virginia's defense, I don't believe in them being that top of, everybody giving them hype and whatnot. But Oklahoma State just has no offense right now. Tyreek Hill it's predictable when he's going to get the ball and how he's going to get it. And when you have a quarterback that throws about an interception in every single game that he has started, that doesn't help either. I think he seriously has thrown an interception in every single game to this point that he has started, which is not going to help you win games at all. Then Texas Tech went on the road to play TCU. Now, I'm looking through at the newspaper that I have, and they have their weekly picks and whatnot. I see everybody TCU, and then out of nowhere, this person I've never even heard of, it was for some advertisement, pick Tech. Oh, that's what set me off. I was like, I really hope TCU beats Tech. And one, it's for recruiting purposes. Hoping that we would have beat Baylor would have been huge for recruiting, because a lot of kids in the state of Texas right now are considering Baylor or A&M. It's no more Texas, and that's it. It's Baylor, A&M, TCU, Texas, and Texas Tech. That's so disappointing that it's in that order, but it is. And this was just really huge for recruiting. I honestly thought the score was probably going to be 56-17. That's what I put. It was a lot better than that. TCU puts up 82 points, and it was incredible how they kept going. They were not running up the score, which in my mind, I believe is okay when you're playing against a rival school. I think you put up as many points as possible because they are a rival, and for recruiting purposes, you want to show that you can beat them down, and that really for that recruit, do you really want to go to a school where you're going to get continually beat like this, or do you want to be a part of this on our side? That's just my motto. It's not the soccer mom motto where if you're already up by 14 with 2 minutes, run out the clock. If it's a normal game, yeah. If it's a rival game, you run up the score as much as you possibly can. And for people that didn't look at the stats, TCU had 10 touchdowns to 4 field goals. And honestly, if we had some completed passes and about 2 penalties on 2 separate drives that did not happen, this easily could have became a 100-point game for TCU. Those should have been touchdowns. 3 of the 4 should have been touchdowns. We had some incomplete passes, and then we had 2 penalties on 2 separate drives that just killed the whole momentum and pushed us too far back to put us in field goal range. So I'm just saying, but awesome win by TCU, and how they still stayed at number 10 and have Georgia ahead of us, it's ridiculous. But anyways, moving on. Michigan and Michigan State went at it, and Brady Hoke, yeah, he's definitely gone at the end of the year. They're not going to fire him mid-season, but he is definitely gone. Losing to a rival 35-11, not good. Not good at all. Arizona and Washington State went at it. Really surprised Washington State didn't put up more points. They put up 37, which for a lot of teams is a lot, but for Washington State, that's about their low. And final score is 59-37, Arizona getting the victory. And how about Syracuse? I was rooting for Syracuse when they were on the road against Clemson, hoping Syracuse can get the W after it was 6-6 at halftime. Could not get it done. Final score was 16-6. And number 3, Ole Miss and LSU went at it. I did have LSU winning. I did. I wish I had done the my picks on air so I could get it out there. It seems like when I do my picks on air, none of them happen. None of them come right, or majority of them don't happen. But when I don't do them, I'm usually right. I have no idea why. I just need to maybe record it, save it for later, so if it does happen, I could be like, look, I really did. It really did happen. Just throwing it out there. But anyways, final score is 10-7. I didn't have that score. I had a 24-17 victory for LSU, but no offense was in this game. It was a sloppy game. Sloppy. Each team had multiple fumbles and turnovers. Bo Wallace was just not the same Bo Wallace that we all know. So, huge loss for Ole Miss. I really think it does take them out of the top 4. Obviously, with the rankings now, they're number 7, but I'm saying for the playoffs come later throughout the year, I really believe it takes them out of the top 4. LSU, huge win for them. They move up a few spots in the rankings, but not looking, to be a top team in college football. But huge win for LSU, and Death Valley. Dreams do die there. Yes, they do. South Carolina and Auburn went at it. South Carolina. And this is another thing about the Auburn not being that good. They did lose to a Mississippi State school. That now I'm kind of questioning who they really are. And Auburn, South Carolina's not that good. We've noticed this year. They're highly overrated, and their defense is terrible. And South Carolina could have came up with this victory. They had a catch in the end zone, I think, towards the end of the game, and it was just out of bounds. So this easily could have gone the other way. So Ole Miss being a number 5 team does not cut it for me. I don't think Auburn is just that same team as last year. They're really getting by some of these games, and against Alabama, they're going to get exploited again. So we'll see about Auburn. Then number 4, Alabama went on the road to Tennessee. Final score is 34-20. Ohio State and Penn State. Penn State almost had it. And the Big Ten officiating and SEC officiating has been in highly questioned. Actually, all officiating has been. Even the Big 12 officiating has been pretty terrible. Something's got to happen. Something's got to happen with officiating. The Buckeyes and the Nittany Lions went double overtime. Final score is Ohio State 31, Penn State 24. So close. I was rooting for Penn State to win this game. So bad. I was really, really hoping. One, they would knock down Ohio State. We need a lot of these one-loss teams to start losing another game so TCU can move up. But Penn State, I was hoping, just for their sake, to win it. A big game. It was a whiteout game for them. Even though they wore their home uniforms, it's like, if you're going to wear a whiteout, wear your white jersey. I don't know. Small things. Anyways, 31-24 loss for Penn State. Then USC and Utah, 19 Utah and USC 20, went at it. And Utah escaped the victory 24-21. I believe it was a 75-yard touchdown for Utah to win the game. And then Arizona State, number 14, Arizona State, went on the road to UW. And without Siler Miles, no offense for the Huskies whatsoever. Final score is 24-10. And that is it for college football. Now, really just about the top 4 rankings. I believe it's Florida State, Oregon. Because remember, they did beat a Michigan State team that's now number 8. That's their only loss of the year for Michigan State. So Oregon's got to be number 2. Then I would say Mississippi State. And then at number 4, Bama. I think that's how it should be. It's not going to be like that. You're going to see a Mississippi State, Florida State, Bama, and then Oregon. They might even throw another SEC team. You might even see Auburn somehow jump Oregon, which would be ridiculous. But so East Coast bias in these rankings and things like that. It's not even at first people just thought, oh, this was just conspiracies talk and blah blah blah. This isn't really true. These are people that are just hating or whatnot. No, it's definitely true. If somehow these West Coast schools are not in the higher rankings than these guys, you'd see. But I'm hoping that it would be a Florida State, Oregon, Alabama, and then Mississippi State. Actually, no, I would have Alabama at 3 and then Mississippi State. But we will see how that goes. Tuesday night again on ESPN. I believe it's at 6:30 Central Time. The playoff rankings will be announced. Now, I don't know if it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's it, or they do a top 25, their own thing. Maybe just top 10, 8, 15. I don't really know. But obviously they will announce the top 4 teams. So as if the season ended at the end of Tuesday, that would be your playoff teams and where they would be heading and whatnot. Things like that. But moving on, we'll talk about the NFL. Just some quick news and actually some topics. I want to hear what you guys have to say. And then we'll go ahead and talk about Week 8 of the NFL. And if I can get my tablet to work. Thank you. Awesome. The St. Louis Rams believe that left tackle Jake Long tore his ACL in Sunday's 34-7 loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. The injury is to his right knee, which is the same one he injured in Week 16 of last season. Long tore both his ACL and MCL in that game and underwent surgery in January to repair the ACL. Now it is torn again. Huge loss for the Rams. Jake Long being the best thing to that offense right now. And having him out is definitely a huge loss for the St. Louis Rams going forward. And how it is going to affect his career, not saying his career ending or anything. We've seen guys come back from torn ACLs before and multiple torn ACLs, but this is the exact same knee, a season ago that lost everything, and now he's torn it again. It's really got to take a toll on him, and so much pressure is on him as well. So we will have to see how that happens. Moving on, Mike Vick era. Is it time for Michael Vick to step in? It was yesterday. Geno Smith was benched after throwing more completions to the Bills than his own teammates. He was 2 of 8, 5 yards, and 3 interceptions for Geno Smith. That's now 31 interceptions in just 24 games. 31 interceptions, 24 games. But Michael Vick really didn't do anything better with 1 interception and 2 lost fumbles. So that brings up the question, do the New York Jets draft a quarterback in the first round? Right now they are 1-7. I believe they're number 2 or number 3 overall pick if the season were to end today and the draft started. You have, obviously, Jameis Winston up there. You have Marcus Mariota. Do the Jets take a chance at another quarterback? Is it time for Geno Smith to just actually sit in the wings for an entire year while you have probably a rookie starting above him? Is Geno Smith, is he basically a bust? Is Geno Smith a bust? Mike Vick, he's not there anymore. Mike Vick's got to call it a career after this. He just doesn't have it. The fact that you have lost fumbles since day one that you entered and you continue to do it, you have not grown from that. He looks at his first 2 progressions and then he's gone. He has, when he's got 4 wide receivers out there, including probably a tight end and or running back, You look 1-2, if that, and then you start panicking, your feet start moving around too much. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I would love to say for the Jets that, hey, maybe you just need to draft Amari Cooper, have a stud wide receiver out there, and your offense can start exploding because you have multiple targets that the defense has to watch for. I wish I could say that, but right now, they could just put 3 men rushing at Geno Smith, and you're most likely still going to get an interception out of it at some point throughout the game. I had so much hope and faith for Geno Smith because what he did at West Virginia, I became a huge fan of him, thinking that he was going to win the Heisman Trophy that year, his senior year, after they started off 5-0 and crazy offense, Tavon Austin, Stedman Bailey, and then they crashed throughout the year. And that was just to see what Geno Smith was going to be like in the NFL. No offense, multiple interceptions. Maybe it's just time Geno Smith needs to go somewhere else. I don't know. Maybe New York is not the area. The Jets are cursed at quarterback right now. I really hope Marcus Mariota doesn't go over there and have a terrible result there. But that's up for you guys to decide. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Do you think the Jets should draft a quarterback in the first round in 2015? They would have a top 5 pick. Or do they go after a Todd Gurley, Amir Abdullah, Jameis Winston, Amari Cooper? I don't know. Jets just need a whole lot of help everywhere. And lastly, before we go on to Week 8 recap, is the Seattle Seahawks. There was a report yesterday that the Seattle Seahawks running back Marshawn Lynch is not on the trading block, but the Seahawks, including Marshawn Lynch, do not expect the running back to be on the roster in 2015, according to multiple sources, which leads to the question, what will Lynch do? Is this it? Is this the end of the road for Marshawn Lynch? He's been in the league for quite a while now. Does he just straight up retire and say, all right, I had my run. I had won a Super Bowl. Well, by then it'd be 2 years ago, but won a Super Bowl already. Is this it? Should I just retire and be done? Save my body because we all know what type of running back and the style that he plays. Should this be one and done? That's it. I'm done. I don't see really Hall of Fame for him, but one of the great running backs for the Seattle Seahawks and in the NFL. Should just retire. Or does he take a chance and go somewhere else? I mean, you could see New England taking a chance on him. I know Bill Belichick doesn't really like... I mean, honestly, I don't know. I wouldn't say Bill Belichick doesn't like his style because we see how Belichick is with the hoodie all the time and not really talking to media. That's Marshawn Lynch. Imagine a Marshawn Lynch type running back. They obviously need a running back. I'm not saying they're going to trade now because of multiple injuries to the Seattle Seahawks backfield right now. You have Derek Coleman, their starting fullback. He's out for the year with a broken foot. So Robert Turbin is going to have to take over fullback roles. Actually, I don't know. Don't quote me on. Let me see. No, I don't know if Derek Coleman's out for the year, but he's going to miss a huge amount of time. Turbin is taking his role, and then Christian Michael. He's still young. I don't know about him, but he is a talented running back, so he could take over there. You still need Marshawn Lynch if you're the Seahawks. But for next year, if you're just saying, all right, he's gone, don't have to pay him, all that good stuff, then Patriots, I see are a big option for that. I mean, Tom Brady would love to have a running back that he could count on and know that could break a ton of yardage. And maybe Marshawn Lynch just needs a new city, just a new fan base or something. I have no idea. It's crazy that it's got to end like this, and what's happening with the Seattle Seahawks right now is blowing it's blowing everybody's mind up right now. The way the Seahawks are playing, barely beating the Carolina Panthers, who are not the best, but are still a solid team with Cam Newton there. And for a reigning Super Bowl team, this is not the Super Bowl crash that you saw, but it makes me wonder, the Madden curse. I just now thought of this right now. You had Richard Sherman on the cover, of course. He hasn't had a terrible year, but we have seen him get beat by a few players. We saw him play terrible against Dez Bryant. He got beat pretty badly against Kelvin Benjamin yesterday. And then right when you turn on the loading screen for Madden 15, you have the entire defense. Byron Maxwell, Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas. This team only has 6 takeaways, I believe. 3 or 6 takeaways this season. Uh-oh, I don't know, throwing that Madden curse out there. I'm just saying. He decided to have the whole team, the whole defense on there, and they really haven't played like the old Seattle Seahawks defense that we all come to know and love. I'm just saying. Just throwing it out there. So, again, what do you guys think Marshawn Lynch will do come the end of the 2014 season into the 2015 offseason? Does he retire, call it quits, or does he sign on with another team? Is it the Patriots? Is it the Denver Broncos? Where is it for Marshawn Lynch? And also, do you think the New York Jets draft a quarterback in the 2015 NFL draft with a top 5 pick as of right now, and probably will stay that way for them? But other than that, let me know in the comments section, whether you're listening on YouTube, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spreaker.com, Twitter, doesn't matter. Just let me know, Facebook, all that other good stuff. But first, let's go ahead and end this show with the NFL Week 8 recap. And the Detroit Lions and the Atlanta Falcons went at it in London. And that's another thing. London, they're now taking it to 5 games next year. Ridiculous, stupid, terrible idea. Sorry. Nothing against London. Just it didn't do that well with their Europe League. So what do you expect? Just because one game has a high success rate, you expect a 16-game season over there is going to do well. Doesn't make sense. Anyways, moving on. The Detroit Lions take on the Atlanta Falcons, and the Atlanta Falcons, it was all a half type game, and what I mean by that is it was all the Atlanta Falcons in the first half. They take a 21-0 lead, looking like a different Atlanta Falcons team. They just dominated. They did whatever they wanted to the Detroit Lions, and Lions had no counter punch to any of it. Then in the second half, Lions storm back. They win the game. Terrible play calling towards the end for the Atlanta Falcons. Final score is 22-21. They win on a field goal that was missed. I believe it was actually, I don't know. It was a 40-plus yard field goal. Matt Prater misses the first one, but there's a delay of game. They move it back. You just think he's probably going to miss it again because it's a farther kick. I believe it ended up being a 48-yard. And they win. Just like that. And the reason it was terrible play calling, if you did watch the game, if you were up early enough to watch this game, the entire game, which I forced myself to do, I set my alarm and woke up. The Atlanta Falcons on a 3rd and 10 decided, and the Lions have no more timeouts. 3rd and 10, you're probably not going to get the first down, but run as much clock as you possibly can. And they come out in shotgun, which I believe that was the right thing. That looked like there's a potential that you were going to pass the ball. I think they should have ran it. Either way, just hope for the best. Maybe you end up breaking a few yards. If you put Quiz Rogers in, he's a speedy guy, he's elusiveness. Maybe he gets away and gains about, the actual 10 yards or maybe 9, close enough, whatever. It doesn't matter. You put Steven Jackson in, a power back, might be able to push a few defenders. Keep the clock running. That's the number one goal. You keep this clock running so the Detroit Lions, who have no timeouts whatsoever, with less than 2 minutes left, I think it was actually a minute and some change, you run the clock. Milk the clock as much as you can. Falcons had other ideas. They hit a quick screen to Julio Jones that worked about 3 plays before that. He drops the pass. It's incomplete. Now, the Lions have good field good field spot right there for them. I can't think of the word. After the punt, and they end up winning the game. Huge catches by Golden Tate, Theo Reddick, and I believe that was about it. I think those are only good, really, catches. Lions win the game. But really, the Atlanta Falcons lost the game. They beat themselves. Terrible play calling. Mike Smith, I see him gone. That was terrible play calling by them. And after back-to-back terrible seasons, it's time for Mike Smith to go. Moving on, Kansas City Chiefs improved. They are now looking like the Chiefs of last season, which is very depressing and sad for us Charger fans. 34-7 victory over the St. Louis Rams. The Houston Texans dominate the Tennessee Titans 30-16. Sadly, Zach Mettenberg did not do that well, if any good at all, against the Texans defense. Texans, I don't think they're that good of a team. They're not a good team in my mind. But that was very disappointing for Zach Mettenberger not to get a win against the Texans. But yeah, Minnesota defeats the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 19-13. Seattle Seahawks, Russell Wilson does his own thing. He becomes clutch again, even though he missed some terrible passes in the beginning of the game. But you don't win the game and won the first or second or third quarter. You win in the fourth. Russell Wilson hits Luke Wilson. Touchdown, wins the game against Carolina Panthers 13-9. The Bengals defeat at the time, was storming hot Baltimore Ravens team. Final score 27-24. So Bengals have finally bounced back after losing, 2 or 3 straight, if you include that tie in there. Miami defeats Jacksonville 27-13. How about the New England Patriots? Tom Brady, check out his stats. He was the first quarterback to go off this week. He was 30 of 35, 5 incompletions, guys. 354 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. That was to believe at that point in the games, in all games, he had the best quarterback, stats. He had the best quarterback game this week. He was looking to be the air raid player of the week, whatever. But let's move on. We'll get to it in just a little bit. Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets. Buffalo dominates the Jets, 43-23. Arizona shocks the Philadelphia Eagles. Nick Foles, another 2-interception game for him. I believe this is his third in the past 4 games. He's had at least 2 interceptions. It's just last season he only had, guess what, 2 interceptions last year. Not looking good for the Philadelphia Eagles and Nick Foles. No need to panic. You're 6-2 now. You're okay. But the Arizona Cardinals improved to 7-1 now. It's just ridiculous. Oakland Raiders still have yet to win a game in a very ugly, boring game against the Cleveland Browns, 23-13. And then moving on to the Pittsburgh Steelers hosting the Indianapolis Colts, a shootout game from the beginning. I believe it was 35-21, 24 at halftime. Ben Roethlisberger set the bar high for any quarterback, including Peyton Manning. 40 of 49, 9 incomplete passes, 522 passing yards, 6 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions against the Indianapolis Colts. Final score is 51-34. Big Ben, whoa. And for all the people that don't have him on your fantasy team, that's in the free agent pool, or you do have him, but you benched him, whoops. It's okay. I had Ben Roethlisberger a few weeks ago, but then I cut him for, I don't even know who my quarterback. I just now signed Tony Romo. Who did I have? Phillip Rivers, I believe. Yeah. Both quarterbacks going opposite ways right now. Might have to make a change. And then last night, the New Orleans Saints surprisingly looked like the old New Orleans Saints. And the Green Bay Packers just looked out of place. Final score is 44-23, but Drew Brees went 27-32, 311 yards, 3 passing touchdowns. I still think, that's a top passing game. I mean, look at the others with 5 touchdowns and 6 touchdowns, respectively. Yeah, it's not compared with them, but high points, 51 for Steelers, 44 for New Orleans, and 51 as well for the New England Patriots, who shared the ball all over the place. Incredible. TCU had 82 points. San Diego Chargers disappointed me once again. And that's one quick thing. For any Charger fans listening out there, because you guys know I'm a Chargers fan, we are on a downward spiral very, very badly. The season is not looking any good. I honestly could see the Chargers, and this pains me to say, losing every single game the rest of the year, ending up 5-11. We can go from being one of the top teams in the NFL to quickly one of the worst teams in the NFL. Well, right now, at least we can say we're better than the Jets and the Raiders. But, just real quick, for the people that don't know the Chargers' schedule right now, we just had a bye week, thankfully, a much needed one. Actually, no, we have a bye week this upcoming week. But after that, check this out. Let me go to schedule real quick. We have the Miami Dolphins we're going on the road to Miami, who Right now, our defense apparently does not know the fundamentals of tackling. That's how we lost to the Chiefs. We got blown out against the Broncos. I believe I was listening to this one podcast. I don't know who it was. I believe it was Bill Simmons' podcast. He's talking about how he keeps a record of legitimate wins, legitimate losses, and games that went either way. For San Diego, I don't know what he said. I forgot, but for me as a Chargers fan, I would know more than Bill Simmons. Bill Simmons. Chargers have, I'm not going to count the wins, but the losses, one legitimate loss, and that was to the Broncos. They just flat out beat us. And 2 games could have gone either way. And those 2 games were the first game of the year against Arizona. We had an interception because a wide receiver did not know how to cut in. He went out. That lost us the game 18-17. I believe, yes, Arizona is still a good team, but we should have beat them. And Kansas City, you let a fullback score on a 42-yard screen pass because you missed about 5 tackles. Yeah, should have gone either way. We should have beat the Chiefs. We just straight out lost to the Denver Broncos. But anyways, enough with the woulda, coulda, shoulda. We got Miami. Then we have... Whoa, wait a minute. Why do they have... Hold up. I got to check my dates. Never mind. We do play this week. Okay. All right. Sorry. We got Miami next Sunday. Because we played Thursday. That's why it seems a little off right now. We play Sunday. What should we call it? Against Miami Dolphins. We could lose that game. Ryan Tannehill is a lot better quarterback now. Then we have a bye week. Then we have the Oakland Raiders, who we actually struggled against. We barely won 31-28 at home. Then we have the St. Louis Rams, who did beat the Seattle Seahawks, which we also beat. But Rams have a good defense. Who knows how that can play. Then we're at Baltimore. That could be a loss right there. We have New England at home on Sunday night. Then Denver at home. Back-to-back losses, most likely, just because of our defense. Then we're on the road at San Francisco, on the road at Kansas City. I honestly see we could potentially lose every single one of these games. We're that team that would lose to Miami and Oakland and St. Louis. Baltimore right now is a better team than us. New England's a better team. Denver is definitely a better team. San Francisco's a better team. Kansas City, not a better team, but we we go to teams' levels, you know. When they're lower than us, we have to play at their level, which is terrible. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying the Chargers are completely out of it, but when you can't tackle and your defense is not the best, and Jason Verrett's going to be out for quite a while, and you're going against some pretty good defenses, so your offense knows you're going to get stopped, and your defense can't do anything about stopping another team, things can get pretty ugly very quickly. So we'll have to see. Right now we're 5-3, and I don't know. But anyways, tonight's game, Monday Night Football, the Washington Skins. That's what I'm going to start saying now. Washington Skins. Going on the road to the Dallas Cowboys and Tony Romo. I need Tony Romo to score at least 9 points. If he scores at least 9 points and Deshaun Jackson is shut out, I will win my fantasy game. And guess what? That's 4 straight weeks of winning after starting off 0-3. Yes. Actually, no, that'd be 5. That'd be 5 straight weeks. I'm on a 4-game win streak right now already. 5 straight weeks, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. So I just need Tony Romo. That's the only player I have left on my team. I benched Antonio Gates, who would have gave me 17 points. Yep, and I put in Julius Thomas, who gave me a beautiful 2 points. But tell me this. I don't understand this. I'm using ESPN's fantasy. Somehow, Eddie Lacy, I don't know his receiving stats, so that's probably why. Eddie Lacy had 59 rushing yards. It only told me the rushing yard stats. 18 points. While LaShawn McCoy had 80-something rushing yards. 8 points. That's my opponent's running backs. I don't know. If somehow Eddie Lacy did not have a receiving touchdown, and a good amount of receiving yards, and he puts up 18 points and I somehow loses, I'm sending something to ESPN because they just ruined something great right now. But anyways, Washington Skins going against the Dallas Cowboys. The New York Giants and the San Francisco 49ers all have bye weeks right now. It's going to be a great game tonight. That is it for today's show. I hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to listen to the podcast on iTunes. Just type in on iTunes the Short Sports Show. You'll find us there. Hit that subscribe button. So whenever any episode or anything's uploaded through Spreaker, iHeartRadio, it is quickly right there in your iTunes pocketbook list, whatever you want to call it. And if you're listening on iHeartRadio, Spreaker.com, YouTube, make sure you guys hit a like and share it with your friends and family. Let them know where you get your sports show. I just want to say the past 3 episodes have had each over 150 listens. That is incredible. After we started off from 40 to 80 listens per show, we're now, or actually 40 to 60, we are now 150 listeners. That is incredible. You guys are amazing. Thank you guys so much again. I will see you guys next Monday morning. Follow me on Twitter at @short_sports 24/7 and become a fan on Facebook, The Short Sports Show. Links are in the description below, so you guys can check that out. Also on YouTube, whenever I post up other videos, you guys can go watch them there. And other than that, thank you guys so much for listening. I will see you guys next Monday. As always, God first, God bless. I'm out. Peace.